In the dying seconds of the 2025 State of Origin decider, with the stadium trembling under the weight of 80,000 screaming fans, Cameron Munster fell to the turf and stayed there. It wasn't an injury that brought the game's greatest Keane to his knees, but the sheer, crushing weight of a week that would have broken any other man. Just days earlier, Munster had walked out of the Queensland camp to bury his father, Stephen, leaving a void that seemed impossible to fill. The Rugby League world held its breath, certain that the Maroons' heart had stopped beating along with their captain's grief. But then, like a ghost appearing from the shadows of the players' tunnel, Munster returned. What followed was 10 minutes of pure, unadulterated sporting divinity that defied logic and transformed a game of football into a transcendent tribute. If you think you've seen a comeback, you haven't seen anything until you witness the wizard reclaiming his throne. Subscribe now because All Sports Updates is taking you inside the most emotional season in NRL history. The 2025 campaign began not with a roar, but with a calculated, surgical silence. After an injury-plagued year that saw his hips and groins completely stuffed, Munster underwent a grueling double surgery that many feared would permanently sap his explosive lateral movement. Critics were quick to sharpen their tongues, whispering that at 31, the game's most unpredictable 5/8 was finally yesterday's news. They watched him in the early rounds, looking for a limp or a loss of pace, but what they found instead was a reinvented masterpiece. Free from the chronic pain that had shadowed his every step, Munster didn't just run, he glided through defensive lines with a terrifying, predatory smoothness. He wasn't just the rock star anymore, he had evolved into a clinical conductor for the Melbourne Storm. All Sports Updates observed a player who had traded his erratic brilliance for a sustained, high-octane dominance that left the rest of the competition playing catch-up in a world he now fully controlled. The storytelling of this season reached its peak during the mid-year representative window, where the stakes were higher than just a scoreboard. Tasked with leading a new-look Maroons outfit after the shock axing of veteran leaders, Munster embraced the captaincy with a maturity that silenced his remaining doubters. In Game 2 at Perth, he produced a man-of-the-match clinic that leveled the series, showcasing a kicking game that seemed to find grass with magnetic precision. But the atmosphere changed instantly on the eve of the decider when tragedy struck. The loss of his father threatened to derail not just his season, but his spirit. When he chose to play, it wasn't about the points or the shield, it was about a son honoring his first hero. The tension on that Wednesday night in Sydney was thick enough to touch, as every set of eyes tracked the number 6, waiting to see if he would crumble or conquer the moment. Middle of the video, and the message is clear: Cameron Munster is the undisputed king of big game energy. All Sports Updates brings you the facts, and the fact is, the Storm Wizard has never looked more dangerous than he does right now. He finished the regular season with 23 try assists, placing him third in the league, but it's the intangibles, the one-on-one strips and the desperate cover tackles, that truly define his 2025 renaissance. Under the watchful eye of Craig Bellamy, who was acting as an advisor to the opposition Blues, Munster used his intimate knowledge of the master coach to dismantle defensive structures that were supposedly Munster-proof. He played with a cheeky grin and a lethal edge, reminding every fan that while form is temporary, the Munster magic is an eternal flame. He has become the ultimate puppet master, pulling the strings of the NRL's most efficient winning machine. The grand final provided the final act of this epic drama, a showdown against a rampant Brisbane Broncos side that tested Munster's resolve to the absolute limit. In a match of blistering speed and bone-rattling collis irons, Munster was the eye of the storm. He orchestrated a first-half blitz that saw Melbourne lead 22-12, including a signature dummy and go that left 3 defenders clutching at the humid Sydney air. Every time the Broncos threatened to surge, Munster was there with a clearing kick or a stabilizing tackle, acting as the veteran anchor for a spine that featured the lightning-fast Ryan Papenhuisen and the relentless Harry Grant. The noise in the stadium was a physical force, but Munster operated in a vacuum of intense focus, moving with a rhythm that only he could hear. It was a masterclass in game management, proving that his mental evolution had finally caught up to his freakish physical gifts. Even when the Broncos mounted their historic second-half comeback to snatch the premiership in the final moments, Munster's stature only grew. He stood as a pillar of grace in defeat, consoling his younger teammates while the opposition celebrated their drought-breaking win. This was the year Munster grew up in front of the world, transitioning from the wild child of the league to a respected statesman of the game. His statistics for 2025 were career highs across almost every category: total running meters, tackle efficiency, and forced dropouts. But the true story isn't found in a spreadsheet, it's found in the way his teammates speak about him. They describe a man who demanded excellence but offered total protection, a leader who took the hits so they could find the gaps. He has become the spiritual heart of the Melbourne Storm, a player who embodies the never-give-in culture that Bellamy has spent 2 decades building. Looking back at the footage, the surprise isn't that he played well, but that he made it look so incredibly easy after such personal turmoil. There is a specific highlight from round 28 against the Bulldogs where he chased down a breakaway winger, covering 40 meters in a dead sprint to pull off a jersey-flinging tackle that saved the game. It was a play that showed his hips were not just fixed, they were bionic. He has rediscovered the devil-may-care attitude that made him a superstar, but he has married it to a professional discipline that ensures he is the fittest man on the park. In 2025, Munster didn't just return to elite form, he redefined what elite form looks like for a modern 5/8. He has become a triple threat of passing, running, and kicking that forces defensive coordinators to rethink their entire strategy whenever they see his name on the team sheet. The impact of this season will be felt for years, as Munster has officially entered the conversation of the greatest 5/8s to ever lace up a boot. Comparisons to legends like Wally Lewis and Darren Lockyer are no longer considered hyperbole, they are considered accurate reflections of his influence on the game. He has proven that age and injury are merely obstacles for the mind to overcome, and that true greatness is forged in the fires of adversity. As the curtain falls on 2025, the Wizard remains at the peak of his powers, a man who can turn a broken play into a masterpiece with a single flick of the wrist. He has reclaimed his status as the most watchable player in rugby league, a performer who demands your attention every time he touches the ball. The Storm may have missed out on the trophy, but they found something much more valuable, a leader who is truly, finally, at the top of his game. As we close the chapter on this legendary comeback, one thing is certain, the NRL is a better place when Cameron Munster is fit, firing, and full of his trademark mischief. He has given us a season of memories that will be replayed in highlight reels for decades, from the emotional Origin victory to the surgical precision of his finals campaign. We want to hear from you. Where does Munster's 2025 season rank among the greatest individual years you've ever seen? Drop a comment below and let us know if you think the Wizard has another gear left for 2026. Make sure to like this video and share it with every rugby league fan who needs a reminder of what true resilience looks like. This is All Sports Updates, your home for the deepest dives and the most intense coverage of the stars who define the game. Thanks for riding with us through the highs and lows of an unforgettable year. We'll see you in the next update. Would you like me to create a breakdown of Munster's specific stats compared to his 2024 season?